group 13, and this is regarding the MLOPS assignment number 2. So initially I'll give the overview on the assignment and then followed by the code walkthrough, where I'll show the code from the GitHub repository, and I'll show the pipeline, the action in the GitHub pipeline, and the last would be the local Docker desktop flow. So this assignment, we are using a binary image. It is a binary image classification of cats versus dogs. So we are using a data set from the Kaggle. And the requirements are like we have to do a model development, and the data and the code has to be versioned. We have used DVC, which is a data version control, which in turn uses the Google Drive. And then we have to do a model building where we are using the logistic regression as our model, which will be saved again in the PTH file. Then we are using ML flow for your experiment tracking, and model packaging and containerization are done by with the Docker and the Kubernetes. And then we are using the fast API for as a REST API call. And then we have the CI/CD pipeline which is used by the GitHub action. So we have written the unit test cases, setup, CI/CD setup, and then the artifactories like Docker hub, Docker container registry. So we are using the GitHub container registry for our artifact storing. And then the CI/CD pipeline, where we are using our local Docker, which is a Docker desktop. And then the smoke testing and other stuff are done. And the final thing is the monitoring, where we are using the Prometheus, and then the logs are getting captured. This is the high level requirements. I'll show the code walkthrough. So all our code that we have done are in the public repository GitHub. We will also provide the zip file in the Taxilla for your references. So mainly I'm going to go through the structure and the important configuration files that's been expected. So as we are using the DVC, we have the DVC folder which has the DVC configuration. So if you enter into the DVC, we have the configuration file which is mapping to the Google Drive. And once we run it either in the local or in the action, the initial data will be picked from the Kaggle and it will be pushed to the Google Drive, and the version is controlled by that. So this is the Google Drive that I used for local, and these are all the files that's got uploaded. Next is the GitHub, where we have the CI/CD pipeline configuration. It's an MLOPS pipeline YAML file which has the all actions and then the jobs and the steps that's been followed in the pipeline. I'll show the one successful pipeline at the end. And you have the deployment folder which will have all our Docker related, Kubernetes related configurations for service, ingress, and then the deployment in the Kubernetes. And the model folder will have the model file that gets saved after training. It also has the metadata of the model. Next is the report, which shows all the matrices that gets covered. As we are using a limited data, the matrices won't be aligned, but we have captured all the matrices. Next is the script folder, which has all the scripts that we use within the action pipeline, and it also has a script for the local Docker setup and also for local data downloading. SRC is the one which has the API related stuff. The fast API related code will be in the SRC, and we have the test folder which has the test related unit test cases, and we have the remaining Docker file which is used for building the Docker image. And there is a requirement txt file which lists all the dependency libraries that's been used for this pipeline project. And also you have the DVC YAML and the DVC log files. So this is a high level code structure, and then the list of configuration files that you guys were expecting. In case if you're missing anything, should be fine. You should be able to find that in the GitHub. This link will also be provided along with the video. Next, I'll go through the actions. I'll show one successful pipeline that we have. These are all the different commits that we have made during our development, and each commit runs as and when the commits happens, the pipeline runs. I'll show the last pipeline. This is the last successful pipeline. So initially it starts with a code quality check where it checks for the linting. So it runs the lint and then makes sure that it is all it's all aligned to the quality check. And the next step is the unit test cases. So where it runs the unit tests for our important files like train file, etc. So here it shows that all 4 test cases are being passed. Once it is passed, it goes to the data pipeline. This is where we check whether initially if the data is not available in the DVC, we will get it from the Kaggle, and then it processes the DVC push. It will happen, so it will go to the Google Drive so that the data will be available, unless the next time the data gets modified, the same data would be used for our training and pre-processing. If it's already available in the DVC, then we won't download the Kaggle. So once the data acquisition happens, there is a data pre-processing step where we process the data. And once the data pre-processing is completed, the next step is the model training. We use the logistic regression, and the model gets trained, and all whatever the artifacts and the metrics that is required, it's all uploaded to the report folder, and the artifacts gets uploaded to the model folder. This is where the artifacts are. Next is the experiment tracking. We are using MLflow for this one, where each run will for each run the training would happen, and all the metadata and their informations would be captured. The parameters will be captured in the ML. So this is the ML flow. Once it is run, we will be able to see all the runs along with the information. This we executed it for the train.python file. Next step would be the model artifact management, where we store the model as a PTH file. So the model.pth will be stored there, and also the DVC also stores the model along with the data that we used for training. Next is the container build and publish. This is where initially it checks whether we have an access to the GitHub content registry. Then based on the Docker file, the Docker image would be pulled, and the image is pushed to the container registry. So post build, this step happens where the image is getting pushed. And in the deployment and validation phase, we pull the image that got generated now from the GitHub container registry. We pull the image, and then we start the API container, and then we wait for some time so that the API spans up, all pods are getting up, and then we do a health check against that to make sure the status is all okay. Then we do an inferencing test where we do the predict based on the sample image file that's available in the GitHub. So here you can see the response coming back as cat with the probability of 0.5. So more probability, we choose that. The last step would be the observability and logging, where we use the Prometheus, and then it collects all the logs, informations, everything, and then it gets uploaded. This is the complete workflow that we have implemented. The last one would be the local Docker desktop. So this is a local Docker desktop where under the container you will be able to see the pet classifier, and then within the Kubernetes you will be able to see the pods. So we have one pod here, and then we have the service configured, nodes configured, and then we have the ingress. So our host will be pet.local, and we have the config maps and the secrets. Once the Kubernetes clusters and everything is up and running, we will be able to hit it through the Swagger. This is the Swagger UI, where we show 3 different APIs. One is for health check, another one for metrics, and the predict. So when you hit on the health check, we will be getting a response back saying, is it okay or not? The health is okay. So this is the response for the health check. And the next one is the metrics. So whatever the metrics that we have collected, all these matrices would be displayed here. So local.metrics, you'll be able to see the metrics collected. So this is the main one, which is predict. So while predicting, you have to choose a sample image file so that it can classify whether it is a cat or a dog. So I have a sample image file already which I'll upload, and on clicking execute you'll get a response back saying that it's a label is a cat, and those probabilities that are assigned to it. So this is the high level information on the code pipeline and the local Docker setup. I hope I've covered everything. In case if you feel something is missing, please reach out to our team. It's group 13. We will be able to help you out. Thank you so much.